Hand on your left, Elsik on your right. Humans, Dredge, 7-0s. Someone's going to be 8-0 playing for the 9-0 next round. Dylan Hand's going to start things off with an Ancient Ziggurat and no play. A little surprising there. Now, you have to imagine that Hand and Elsik know what the other is playing. So for Dylan, not having a one-drop here leads me to believe that, okay, I know that Zach is playing a certain deck, and I have kept a specific hand for Zach. If you've been paying attention at all here on the SCG Tour circuit, you know that Dylan plays one modern deck and plays it very well. So Elsik is going to start by sacrificing over to Foothills, falling down to 19 and getting himself a mountain. It'll be a Shriekhorn, and we're going to head back over to Dylan Hand. He'll draw a card. It is always difficult to not have a 1-mana spell here. Now, Thalia is not a bad 2-mana spell to have. One would argue maybe the best 2-mana spell to have. It's going to slow down Faithless Looting, or at least make it cost a little bit more, especially on the flashback. As you saw Elsik mill that over the Shriekhorn, he's going to go down to 1 counter. We've got Creeping Chill and another Shriekhorn, so Dylan's going to fall down to 17. Elsik's going to go up to 22. But this also makes it so that Elsik cannot cast a Cathartic Reunion this particular turn. Elsik will have to draw a card as he has no cards to dredge.
Yeah, if Hand's keeping 7 on the play without a 1, almost certain that Thalia is involved.
Yeah, and I would much rather keep a hand with Thalia as opposed to Freebooter. I think Thalia is just the more powerful of the two. And that's the start that Dylan Hand does have. It'll be a City of Brass. And now a Hardcast Mark Amoeba. Well, not the prettiest thing we've seen on turn 2 from Zach Elsik here this weekend, but got to do what you got to do as we head over to Dylan Hand. Dylan going to play a Seachrome Coast. It'll enter the battlefield untapped. And now the follow-up. We will see.
Really good here for Hand that we've gone through 2 turns, and Elsik still has no engine in the graveyard.
So we have Kitesail Freebooter. And there will be a trigger. You see the Cathartic Reunion, Life from the Loam, 2 Blood Crypts, and a Prized Amalgam. Unsurprisingly, Elsik does have a copy of Cathartic Reunion in hand, and I think that will almost certainly be Hand's selection here.
Yeah, Loam is a way to get the ball rolling here, but it is awfully slow, especially in comparison to Cathartic Reunion.
The follow-up is now going to be a Noble Hierarch, and this will be an attack for 3 exalted damage. I'd be shocked if Elsik blocks, but stranger things have happened. Yeah, it looks like he may take this opportunity to block. So, save himself a little bit of life as he's really trying to get this ball rolling. So, on the upkeep, he's going to activate Shriekhorn. He'll mill 2 cards. Stinkweed Imp is 1. Cathartic Reunion is another. So, he's finally found a dredger, and he will be doing some dredging, I have to imagine, here in just a moment. And now Stinkweed Imp will replace his draw step. So, 5 cards will be placed in the graveyard here for Zach. 1 is a Conflagrate, 2 is a Bloodghast, 3 is a Bloodgrass, 4 is a Faithless Looting, and 5 is a Golgari Thug. The engine, Patrick, is starting to get online.
Conflagrate is a big hit here, too.
Yes, it is.
I mean, he can just dump out here right for 4.
He's got
just
5
land
cards
and
in hand, but he can,
just
1, 2, yeah?
Yeah, he just empty out here.
He's got to play land to do it, but yeah. I'm with you now.
Now you got Loam to rebuild, plus, yeah, I mean, this setup looks great to me.
I'm kind of into it. And there's Conflagrate. And now a bunch of stuff is going to go to the graveyard. Boy.
This has swung very quickly.
Conflagrate has a way of doing that, folks. It just took finally a good dredge there for Zach Elsik. He's got his Bloodghast on the battlefield, Prized Amalgam in the graveyard, Stinkweed Imps in the graveyard, and now we're going to head back over to Dylan Hand, who's got to rebuild his battlefield now because he is in some trouble. There's a Thalia. He cannot play that.
Illegal maneuver.
He cannot play that Ether Vial. It costs 2 mana. He missequenced those cards. Now he'll pass the turn back. So a slight misstep there for Dylan Hand right now. We head back over to Zach now. A little playful banter between the two. And it looks like Zach has some interest in dredging loam, but he's going to go with Stinkweed Imp instead.
Yeah, I think you just want the biggest dredge first because you can always get the loam later if you want it. If you don't want to play the reunion this turn, then sure, go ahead and get the loam.
It looks like he will go with the loam then. So it's going to be a Shriekhorn, a Conflagrate, and a Copperline Gorge that'll be placed into the graveyard. And now it looks like Zach is going to go casting loam. Maybe it'll be a Faithless Suiting instead. It's going to be a loam. It's going to cost 3 because of the value. So he actually can't flash back Faithless Suiting at this stage. Going to get back a Copperline Gorge, it looks like. Let me make sure it's clear here. It's going to be a Wooded Foothills, a Blood Crypt, and a Gemstone Mine that'll go to the hand. So Zach, a couple of pump fakes there, tricking me here in the booth. But one thing's for sure, these Bloodghast are coming across here for 2 points of damage. And then, of course, if Dylan does block one, Zach can simply get it back. Though it appears as though maybe Dylan didn't block one, which is a little strange.
The Amalgam.
Good call.
If you block, then he gets it back.
Good call. Makes it less strange. Champion of the Parish and Thaddeus the Tender are going to show up here. It is tough here for Dylan. I am going to watch over the course of this game. Does missing that vial mess him up? He's got 2 cards left in hand.
It's obviously, a little sloppy. I'd be surprised if it really comes back to, because the way that he's losing this game is just running out of creatures. I don't think it's going to be a function of whether or not he can play efficiently through a vial. But you never know. I mean, it all matters.
It definitely does all matter in this difficult game of Magic. As Elsik will sacrifice the land, fall down to 13. It's all tied up right now, but this is a big turn here for Zach. Zach will untap those 4 lands and those 2 Bloodghast. We're going to see him probably do some dredging here to replace his draw step. He just got to figure out which one. There'll be a Stinkweed Imp, a Wooded Foothills, a Life in the Loam, a Prized Amalgam, and a Creeping Chill. It's 10-16 now.
And hand now really can't block these Bloodghasts. Just don't know how hand's going to race all this, because if he blocks any of the Bloodghasts, all these Amalgams come back.
Mm-hmm. Also, what's the plan to beat the Cathartic Reunion or the Conflagrate? It's all bad news here for Dylan Hand. And it looks like Elsik says, I'm going to go right towards the Conflagrate.
Yeah, I mean, he can split 1 and 3 and get rid of all the blockers if he wants to. Might as well send the attack first, because blocking here is just kind of a bad prospect here for hand. Even if he puts a 3/3 in front of one of the 2/1s, all the Amalgams come back, and it's easier for Elsik to split up the Conflagrate however he wants to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hand is kind of getting squeezed from too many angles here.
Looks like Lieutenant's going to jump in front of Bloodghast. And Dylan going to take 2. He's going to fall down to 8. Here's Conflagrate.
Then land is the last card, and then everything comes back.
I like the way Elsik's played this game. Yeah. Get back Bloodghast, trigger the Amalgams. I think there's 3 in the graveyard there. And yeah, it looks like not having the vial isn't going to come back to hurt Dylan at all. He's just going to draw and concede the game. So Zach Elsik's going to win game number 1 here over Dylan Hand. Dredge up a game here over Humans. And now it's time for both players to consider their additional 15 cards, and we'll start with Dylan Hansen. He'll be on the play for game number 2. It's 3 Sin Collectors, 2 Auriok Champions, 2 Knight of Autumn, 2 Gaddock Teague, 2 Enophens of the Foremost, 2 Izzet Staticaster, a Dismember, and a Plague Crafter.
I think Izzet Staticaster, Anafenza, Gaddock Teague, and Auriok Champion are all pretty big upgrades here. Healthy 8 cards to bring in.
For Zach Elsik, he's got 4 Assassin's Trophy, 4 Leyline of the Void to get himself an edge in the Dredge Mirror, 2 Lightning Axe, 2 Nature's Claim, 2 Thoughtseize, and a Dark Blast.
Imagine you're going to see the 2 copies of Lightning Axe and the 4 copies of Assassin's Trophy come in.
I think those are pretty good options for sure. Maybe the Dark Blast, potentially.
Maybe it's not the best against humans, but it's a low-cost treasure to bring in. I don't mind having one.
Well, those are the options there for both players. Game number 2 are going to be underway here in just a moment. We want to talk about the Season 1 schedule for the SCG Tour in 2019. Season 2 here in 2018 is oddly almost done. We've only got a few more stops. We want to get you ready for 2019, especially with the return of the Players' Championship. We're going to be kicking that off with a brand new format here in Team Modern. That's not Unified Modern, it's Team Modern. So if you and your 2 teammates want to all play the same 75 that
Triple
Dylan
Bird,
is playing,
Triple Dredge,
Triple Humans, be the Fun Police, Triple Tron, be the Ultra Fun Police, Triple Lantern.
Yeah, Triple Tron, Triple Lantern.
Oh, yeah.
And all of you can help each other out on all your matches.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. If you want to make sure the rounds go to time and then some, be the Triple Lantern team. If you want to be like Scott Schauf and have a lot of fun, Triple Battle Wits.
Yeah.
That's right.
Although, you got to be able to shuffle in time.
You do need to be able to shuffle. That's in Columbus, brand new format. I think you're all going to like it quite a bit. January 5th and the 6th. We'll go to Worcester for Modern after that, then Indy for a Team Constructed Open. That one will be the release weekend for Guilds of Ravnica Allegiance? Ravnica Allegiance, I think, is the next set. That sounds right to me.
Asking the wrong guy.
That's true. Team Constructed in Baltimore. After that, then we'll go to Dallas, 9th and the 10th for the return of Standard Opens. I know Dallas will show out for that like they did this weekend. Syracuse on March 2nd and the 3rd for a little legacy action. Regional Championships, March 9th. That'll be Modern. Then we'll go to Philly for some Modern action again, the 16th and the 17th. Cincy for Team Constructed. Cleveland, Seatown.
The land.
The land. I'll be calling that show because I'm not letting Matthias and Ryan do that one. That's me. Got to go see Mom and Dad for a little Modern action. Richmond for Team Constructed. Syracuse for Team Constructed. Louisville for Modern, and then the Season 1 Invitational Weekend, June 7th to the 9th, Modern Standard with a Modern top 8. We got some playmats for all of you as well. We got an awesome playmat here for Standard. We commissioned some artists for some awesome playmats here, folks. These aren't on Magic cards. They're only on these playmats. So Botanic Growth from Victor Adami Minguez. That's what you get for our Standard Opens and Classics. For Modern, it's Star Crowned Angel by the wonderfully talented Greg Staples. And then for Legacy, it is Loftstone Citadel by the very talented Adam Paquette. These playmats, free and exclusive with entry into any Open, Classic, Infinite Challenge, or Sealed Spectacular Package. Go to StarCityGames.com/schedule. Plan your 2019 Q1 and Q2, Season 1 of the 2019 SCG Tour, and begin your road to the StarCityGames.com Players Championship. Zach Elsik currently leads things here in round number 8, looking to go into 8-0 and potentially be our only 9-0 here this week. And Elsik, do remember, Grand Prix champion at Grand Prix Oklahoma City many moons ago when Lantern, and he thought it was a joke deck, and Elsik proved anything but.
The joke is on you.
Yeah. Can you imagine just the first time you play against Lantern?
I do.
And it's just like, this is Bozo up to.
I played my first match involved playing an Eidolon and then just casting nothing but garbage for multiple turns and dying, having done nothing of note.
Sure.
Not everyone had the same first experience.
Yeah, but my Lantern experience, I remembered getting locked out and thinking, this is stupid, and then realizing it was kind of good, and then I was like, okay, I want to try to play this, and then timing out my first match. So, I'm all good.
Perfect.
My Lantern experience is all good.
Perfect.
Yes. I asked like Sam Black because he was really into the deck. I'm like, is it worth learning? He's like, it's really good if you learn everything. And like that was kind of my thing.
You had to know the matchups. 20s. You had to know the rules.
Yeah. He's like, if you know what outs, like what to name with Pithy Needle, where you just lock them, and we need to get with all your other stuff and what you're searching for, it's very hard to lose, which is true, except for time is a thing. I got a lot of stops on Magic Online too.
I know. I know.
I got a lot of stops.
I have a minimalist set of stops.
That's why I kept clicking through my attacks when I was using your computer.
Yep. My only rule is you can play on my account as much as you want. You cannot touch my stops.
Well, Not going to put it into your account anymore. I can't handle your no stops.
My main phase, their beginning of combat,
Ugh.
all combat steps. My second main, their end of turn. The end.
It's just not enough. Both upkeeps, both mains.
No.
Every aspect of the attack set for both players. Both second mains, both end steps, ready to turn on the draw step. You know the little lock in the corner? It's unlocked on my computer. I'm just ready.
It's locked on mine.
I'm ready. Dylan, you better have a 1-drop.
He does not.
Not again, Dylan. Dylan hand, young man, your hand better be good then.
You would assume. It's not like Han doesn't know about the have a 1-drop thing.
No, I get it. Let's see what Elsik's going to have here. Elsik will play a Faithless Looting. He'll draw 2. He'll be discarding 2 in a moment. It'll be a Bloodghast and a Prized Amalgam.
As a reminder, Patrick players, if you've signed up and are playing a 4 PM auto and challenge, your fourth and final round variants have been posted. 4 PM auto challenge players, please, make your way to your seats.
Unclaimed territory. Naming human for a meddling mage. Name a card, Mr. Han.
I'm guessing, yep.
He's
Cathartic
gonna,
Reunion.
He's going to name Cathartic Reunion. Got there. Zach will even show him. Because I have a feeling he's going to kill his meddling mage soon. I'll show you now. And I'll kill all your stuff later. Shriekhorn. That thing needs a sound effect.
I imagine it's unpleasant.
I'm inclined to agree.
Bang. Bang.
Bloodghast into Prized Amalgam.
And offends of the foremost. Let's see it. Let's see it.
All right.
That's why you would keep a hand.
All right, let's see it. Let's read it. How about that?
It almost looks like it's intended specifically for Elsik's deck.
That's true. That's just true. Dylan brought the hate cards. Now, this is an expensive way to do it. But for a white, a black, and a green, you get a 4/4 legendary human soldier. When an offense of the foremost attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on another tapped creature you control.
A brawler.
And then if a creature card would be put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere, exile that card. So,
it's bad news for Elsik.
I like it. Zach. Please block? So I can conflagrate this, please? I'd really like that if you did that. Dylan Hand thinking about tendering a block here. What's the worst that could happen?
I mean, you kind of know the answer to that.
Yes.
You lose your Anafenza and then
Well,
stuff out of the graveyard starts killing you.
You'll lose that mage, too.
Yeah.
That conflagrate will be cast for 0 and then flash it back. Worst case scenario here, all kidding aside, is you block. Elsik says, okay, I'll conflagrate for a red. And then I will play a land and then flash it back and discard my hand.
Yeah.
That's worst case scenario. There's Gemstone Mine. Free mining counters. There's a conflagrate. Red, red. I guess this is nice because he still gets to keep his meddling mage.
Yes.
So
if
that's
he,
not bad.
if he blocked the amalgam, then Elsik would be able to get everything.
Mm-hmm. So hand knew it could happen. It did happen, and now I'm curious to see what happens moving forward. Does he have another Anafenza? Here's a meddling mage attack. That's the easy part here for Dylan. Now here's a reflector mage. That'll take care of that. Pass the turn back. Shriekhorn activation. 1 is a Blood Gas. 2 is a Copperline Gorge. Elsik looking to rebuild. Elsik, is he willing to activate Shriekhorn again just yet? Didn't think I'd be saying it here this weekend, but Shriekhorn management is a real skill. And it looks like he's going to dredge a Stinkweed Imp. So we'll take a look at 5 cards. Copperline Gorge, Wooded Foothills, Narcomoeba, Shriekhorn, and a Faithless Looting. Do you think Dylan should have blocked with the Anafenza partner?
It's hard to know without knowing what the rest of his hand is like. It is a pretty powerful insurance policy, but it's also not like you just get to necessarily have Anafenza for the whole game unchecked. If he's got a Confligate, then all he needs is a Loam and then it's dead anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you might just be getting so much value for the Anafenza right there that it makes sense to block, but I don't know. It's possible Elsik just can't play a meaningful game through it.
Narcomoeba is going to come back from the graveyard, so Elsik starting to rebuild that battlefield. Keep in mind, though, he does have that prized amalgam in hand. Gemstone Mine's going to fall down to 1 counter. And we're going to see a Faithless Looting be flashed back from the graveyard. So Elsik will draw 2 cards. No dredging to be done. He's got a little bit of discarding to do, though. He's going to go with a Stinkweed Imp and a prized amalgam. Pass the turn back. We'll go over to Dylan. Can Dylan keep the aggression going? You saw earlier in this match that Elsik was willing to block pretty early.
Yes.
Realizing that he's just trying to make the game go on as long as he can, and if he does that, his deck's engine will take over. Three mana. It'll be an Is a Static Caster. Kill that and keep the aggression going. I like this play here from hand. You want to make sure that your creatures don't get chump blocked. You want to cut as many turns out of this game as you possibly can, as now there's a Noble Hierarch. Might look a little aggressive on the surface, but the goal here is to close things out.
Yeah, he's got to be able to close this out before Loam and Confligate take the game over, as we saw in the first game. It looked like hand's position in game 1 was really good.
It did.
But then he just lost everything.
Elsik dredging a Stinkweed Imp. Dark Blast among those cards here.
Creeping Chill, also another motivating factor here for hand to try to take some turns out of here.
That's a real consideration. Well, what's interesting about Creeping Chill, too, in this spot is you don't really know how many Zach has left in his deck.
Right.
It's such a new card at this stage, and he can't play Cathartic Reunion. It's such a new card at this stage that you don't really know how players are going to sideboard with it. And I think even if you're in Zach's, you're not sure if you're supposed to leave in all 4 copies or not.
Yeah, I could see it ranging anywhere from it's a damage race, and these cards are just good, and it's not like hand really breaks me up from dredging that easily, so I want to keep all of them in. To the game is just about battlefield presence and how reliably I can dredge, and I can't afford to have cards like that in my deck post-board. I think that entire range is possible.
Gemstone Mine's going to be cashed in here. Elsik's going to flashback Faithless Looting once again. So, thought about casting Cathartic Reunion briefly, but just remembered, as Dylan pointed out, hey, I've got a Meddling Mage locking that down. As here's a pretty nice dredge for Zach Elsik. Prized Amalgam, Wooded Foothills, Narcomoeba, Creeping Chill. Looks like maybe a Dakmor salvage. And now it looks like he wants to dredge a Dark Blast too. Maybe it'll be Loam instead. Looks like it will be Loam. So 3 more cards here in Conflagrate, Stinkweed Imp, and Bloodstained Mire. Elsik will have to discard 2 cards. He'll discard a Bloodghast and a Stinkweed Imp. Narcomoeba and Creeping Chill triggers. And with Narcomoeba's trigger, that means that Prized Amalgams will trigger.
Yeah, those are some nice hits there for Elsik.
They certainly were. There's the Amalgam. There's the other Amalgam. So we're going to head back over to Dylan Hand now. Keep in mind for Zach Elsik, he does have a Conflagrate in the graveyard as Dylan will draw a card. Dylan is looking at a Staticaster that can take care of an Narcomoeba again if he wants to go that route. Going to start by sacrificing a Horizon Canopy.
Good news for Elsik.
Got to be pretty happy with that if you're Zach. Three mana here. And Offensa's back. All right. Staticaster's going to kill that. That'll be exiled, given the Anafenza. You got to keep bringing the heat here if you're Dylan.
But Elsik has enough cards in hand where he's going to be able to conflagrate for a lot next turn. I think he's going to go into post-draw step, regardless of whether he dredges or just takes a natural draw. 5 cards in hand. That's enough to take care of the Hierarch, plus the Anafenza.
That looks to be the case. Let's go back over to Zach now. Does he draw? Does he dredge? Shriekhorn's out of counters. Some real considerations here because the Anafenza that's on the battlefield. It looks like Elsik says, I'll just take a draw step. Picked up a copy of City of Brass. That third land's actually not bad here.
Yeah, so the options are he can conflagrate for 5 and take care of the Hierarch along with the Anafenza, or do it for 4, only kill the Anafenza and leave a land left over to trigger the Bloodghast. Also, what you get to do in that scenario is shoot hand for 1. I guess you can't keep everything, so there's no way to. Yeah, there's no way to do it all.
But you were thinking shoot hand for 1 and give Bloodghast haste, something
right?
like that.
But yeah, there's just not enough total cards.
Interesting little attack here. All right. So it looks like Noble Hierarch will jump in front of the Prized Amalgam. So what is Elsik's hand post-combat? It looks like we figured it out. This will be a Conflagrate. Discarding 4, goodbye Anafenza. Stinkweed Imp will get exiled because discarding those cards is part of the cost.
I'm not a huge fan of Elsik playing the land here, because you're playing the Bloodghast just directly into the Staticasters. Okay, it looks like he's just not going
to get him back.
Yeah.
Is it time for a Reflector? Yes. Okay. Dylan is trying really hard to cross this finish line. Drew 2 Anafenzas this game. Going to play Noble Hierarch post-combat. He's getting close. Elsik is trying to hang on, though.
2-headed giants, sealed spectacular players. Your parents
Zach will draw.
and on the ground have been posted on your parents' roll. Please, make your way to your seats. Again, players in the 2-headed giant, sealed spectacular. Your parents for your 4th and
chill.
Oh, my God. Okay,
Two
well,
creeping chills.
that's really bad news for Hand here, as now it's just a matter of getting to Dredge Loam and finishing out the game.
Uh-huh. 2 chills. Going to bring Elsik up, more importantly. It's not so much about Hand going down. I think it's actually really a combination of the two.
I mean, Elsik can just say go here, right? He doesn't need to do anything. Just keep the card in your hand so you can just fire off your lethal Loam into Conflict next turn.
I think you're right about that. He's got 2 cards in hand right now. He would Dredge Loam. 2 cards in hand. Dredge Loam. Cast Loam. That'll bring him up to 5. Play a land.
Down to 4.
Down to 4, so it would be a Conflagrate for 4, so he's a little bit short. So maybe it's not that easy. I'll tell you one thing. Dylan Hand does not. Unless here's a Faithless Looting. He does not want to Reflector Mage that Prize Amalgam unless it's going to be lethal. So, Elsik is going to Faithless Looting. We're going to dredge 5 cards here. Life and Alone, Lightning Axe, Shriekhorn, Wooded Foothills, a Bloodstained Mire. And now he's going to dredge again. Loam, Narcomoeba, and Cathartic Reunion. Narcomoeba will join the fray. The rest will go towards the graveyard. And Elsik does need to discard 2 cards, so this doesn't change much. And it might be worth noting that he did take 1 to do this. So 2, 4, 6. Still going to be tough to attack for lethal, but these Amalgam will come back. Pass the turn back. Static Caster will take care of that. Hand is untapping very quickly.
So I don't think there's a single individual card that gets hand to lethal this turn.
I agree with you.
Even a lieutenant gets him to about 8 for
It'll be 8.
5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Mantis Rider doesn't do it by itself.
There are some 2-card pairings that get it done.
Zach is cleaning up his graveyard a little bit now. I think it's just going to organize the relevant stuff as opposed to the non-relevant stuff. Make things a little bit easier on both players. Dredge deck looking really resilient.
Now split into dredgers, which matter because they dredge, lands because they matter for loam. So this line just leaves Dylan dead, right? Because that's the extra card that Elsik needs to make the Conflagrate lethal.
This was my concern. If he did Reflector Mage that would bring Elsik up to 3 cards. Loam would be card 4. You cast Loam, go down to 3, up to 6. You play a land down to 5, Conflagrate for game. So this was my concern, that if he played a Reflector Mage, he may have just killed himself. I guess the question is, does Zach notice? Remember, I believe Zach has Loam in hand.
You might as well dredge because if you hit a Creeping Chill, it's easy mode.
I think he's through all 4. I think. Either way, no Creeping Chill there.
I mean, if you're Elsik, I think it's just kind of face up what you need to do here.
Pretty sure. Yeah. Loam, get back lands, Conflagrate you, and that is going to do it. So, Zach Elsik's going to win this game match over Dylan Hand. 2 games to 0. Dredging its way on to 8-0, taking care of humans, giving Dylan Hand his first loss on the weekend. We don't see Dylan Hand lose much with humans, but he lost those 2 games. And for Zach Elsik, our invitational runner-up earlier this year at SCGCon Summer, 8-0, already locked for day 2, looking to be on top of the standings after day number 1.
And you can see why we've seen some humans players this weekend have Tormod's Crypts in their sideboard. The managing the graveyard through things like Anafenza is really sketchy. When the battle is over, their spells not their creatures.
Yes.
The Conflagrate there was just, Elsik had 3 of them in his deck. Every time one of them got flipped over, it's like, okay, I'm getting Plague Wind again.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many times you can do that, and it's not like NFNs is bad by any stretch, but the battle in that matchup is over a Conflagrate, and I can respect why some Humans players wants to have Tormod scripted into the board, even though typically their sideboard is just nothing but creatures for the obvious reasons, because if you can't fight over a Conflagrate, even your Anafenses. I mean, Hand drew both of his sideboard Anafenses and still lost.
He did still lose. We are going to watch Dredge one more time, this time against Advanced Spirits. Ian Thorne against Karl Chelesky. It's game number 3. What's your names? Karl is playing Advanced Spirits. Both these players 7-0. When we jump into this game with Ian Thorne with a pretty healthy graveyard, you see his battlefield there. Shriekhorn out of counters, Amalgam untapped, 2 Narcomoebas, just a couple of lands, casting Life from the Loam, targeting 3 lands. Going to get back a Mountain, Copperline Gorge, and a Blood Crypt, along with an Narcomoeba in hand, among other things. Thorne at 5, Chelesky at 12. For Chelesky's side, Supreme Phantom, couple copies of Spell Queller, Bird's Paradise. Spell Queller looks as though it's eaten a couple of different things here, and a couple of different lands. Some Bloodgaster back. Then Bloodgast shouldn't be able to attack, so your life totals might be reversed. See some blocks here. These Bloodgast, if they're able to attack, that means that Ian is probably at 12 and Karl is at 5.
Yeah.
So we'll get these life totals reversed. And now they're correct. So there are your blocks. Amalgam down. That one down. Bloodgast will come on through. Amalgams are going to come back. And now we're going to go back over to Karl. Karl will need a good draw. I don't know what it can be. It's islanding it. I'll tell you that much. And pass the turn back. Will Chelesky back to Thorne. Now Amalgam will come back from the other Amalgam. Comes back on Karl's end step, which means that the Amalgam will be untapped. 3 there from Loam. Nature's Claim among them. And I think Ian Thorne's going to be able to attack for the win here in just a moment, folks. This will be a life from the Loam. Target a couple of lands here, will Ian. Looks like there's a Conflagrate in the graveyard. That'll be a Mountain. Bloodgast will come back.
I think that one's signed by me. I recognize those scribbles. And this is going to go over the top of Spell Queller or some such.
Oh, yeah.
It's all
of it.
All of it.
That is going to do it. Ian Thorne's going to win this game match here over Karl Chelesky. 2-1 for your young Dredge player there on your right. It's an 8-0 start, and I think we're going to watch a Dredge mirror to close out our day, partner.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Can't wait. Should be over fast.
Probably. Let me see. Ian's sideboard.